Hey people, this is We187 and welcome to a review of the Great Gubal Library hard mode. This dungeon originally we visited in the Heaven's Red main scenario at level 59, and now we're coming back, and it's not in the main story, it's just optional now. I'm going to be honest, I didn't really pay attention to the side quest that had us go back here because I just wanted to get the content done. I'm going to go take a look at it later, but I want to review the dungeon itself, and I really love this dungeon. This is probably one of the better level 60 dungeons that they've added in a long time. Probably my favorite since like St. Malcian's Arboretum. I really like the Arboretum, and this is coming up really close to that. I actually like this more, I would say. In the beginning, like, it looks largely the same as our first trip through the library. We see a lot of the same like staircases and stuff, and like these really like big rooms with like these circular floors in the middle, and it's cool. The trash isn't all that special yet. It does get a little bit more interesting later aesthetically, not really mechanically, but just like the way that they approach it seems a little bit more interesting. It's a little bit more, I guess, engaging than in Xelphatol, which is the other new dungeon that they just added in this patch. But I really like the library for the trash because they sort of work with the aesthetic of the library really well. Whereas in Xelphatol, we just have a bunch of Ixal, and that's pretty much it. Like, they can't really add many other enemies there because it's like the Ixali stronghold. But here we have, like, the huge enemies like the Vastigos from the Crystal Tower, and like the big Flans and stuff. And then like here you have like this fire just like fall on the ground. Then you have like to deal with the fire homunculi and like the big ogre thing, and it's really cool. Like that, the way of like integrating like what you fight with the environment is a really nice design touch that I hope they do more often in the future. So I was really happy with that. And then we get to the first boss, which is actually what is it called? The Demon of the Tome. So basically, in the first time we fought this thing, it was in its book in the first trip through the library, but now it like emerges from the book, and I love this fight. It's really, it's not too hard, but it's got really interesting AoE mechanics that you don't really expect. I'd say it's actually like probably a little bit complicated for new players. Like the first time I went in here, like I'm recording this, I didn't show it in this video, but like one of the people actually died just from the AoEs alone, which doesn't happen that often anymore at level 60. I mean, maybe it does, I don't know. But regardless, it's really cool that they added such interesting mechanics to this place. And then the second boss is the liquid flame, which is directly taken from Final Fantasy V, and the living liquid in Alexander was inspired from that. So it's really cool that we finally get to see it. It's pretty much an easier version of A3. And I like it a lot, actually. Like, they have the eruption mechanics from Ifrit, which is really cool. We've seen the mechanic before, so we know how to deal with it, which is what the expert dungeon should do. And then we have this really cool mechanic where if you get like a moon coin above your head, you go and stand on the moon pedestal. It's really self-explanatory, and it still makes you think. And then they have this A3 mechanic here where you have to like run towards it if you have a plus. I didn't mean to run it. Well, I shouldn't have run into the fire there, but that's the general idea of what you should do. So that was a really cool boss. I like how they handled that boss there. And then the library starts getting really different towards the second half. As you can see here, like, we go into rooms we never went into before. I think because in the first trip through the library we went like down, and now we're going more up, like upstairs, and I like that a lot. And we fight mammoths like from the anti-tower and stuff. It's really cool. I like it a lot. And then the final boss of this area is also really cool. We fight this really cool owl, and it reminds me of like, it kind of reminds me of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Maybe because that's the only other thing I can think of that has like an owl in a library that is kind of trying to kill you. But yeah, I like it a lot. It's got really interesting mechanics. It's got like the float mechanic from Circus Tower, where you have to like stand on the floating thing, and that's a mechanic we haven't seen in a really long time, so it's sort of good to bring it back now that it's had some time to cool off. Like, I noticed a lot lately they do like the big Sephiroth mechanic where you have to like stack up, or I'm sorry, that was Thoradin mechanic. And they do it again in this boss here, which is fine. I feel like they use it in every boss now, which is kind of lame. But they do have some interesting things that we don't often see. Like, I think I even messed up this mechanic here, where I had to go stand in this puddle. I wasn't sure. I couldn't really figure it out yet. I've only been through this dungeon once so far. But yeah, then he summons a behemoth, which is really cool. Like, totally aesthetic game changer. And kind of like Garuda and Xelphatol, you can't really target it or anything. Which is kind of disappointing, but like you still have to deal with it like you would have in Crystal Tower, where like the meteors fall from the ground, then you have to hide behind the meteors, and that's such a cool mechanic. And just for them to bring it back for those who might not have even done Crystal Tower, because that was like optional level 50 content at this point, it's really cool to like see people deal with it in this dungeon, and it's a lot of fun. It's a very fun boss fight, and probably one of my favorites in a really long time in the level 60 dungeon. So yeah, I give this whole thing an A-. The music is an A. The visual aesthetic is a B+. I only give it a lower grade for the visual aesthetic because the first half is very much the same as like our first trip through it. But the boss encounters are awesome, and the trash mobs are at least a little bit more interesting because they sort of like weave their way into how it works with the area and all that. I like it a lot. So anyway, thank you for watching, and if you want, you can go check out my Xelphatol review as well. Take care.